Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you my November wrap-up. So in the month of November, I managed to read a total of 22 things, which is totally awesome. As I mentioned in both my October wrap-up and my November mid-month wrap-up, my reading has just been really picking up since my move. Adding in like an extra kind of 20 minutes to my commute a day has just, I don't know, I've just been really reading a lot lately. So as always, let's start off with the statistics for the month. As I said, I read a total of 22 things. That was made up of 14 novels, 3 graphic novels, 3 manga volumes, 1 novella, and 1 children's book. Of the 22 things, 14 I read in physical copy, 5 audiobooks I listened to this month, and I read 3 ebooks. Of the books, excluding the audiobooks as always, I read 6 books that I own and 11 books from the library. So again, reading more from the library than that I own, but I've basically given up on that statistic for the year. I read a total of 6,849 pages in the month of November, which is totally awesome, which averaged out to 228 pages a day. So obviously I'm averaging more than 200 pages like in a day, so that is really awesome. I'm really happy with that. The longest book I read in the month of November was 470 pages, and the shortest book I read was 74 pages. The highest star rating I gave was a 5-star. I actually gave 2 books 5 stars this month, and the lowest star rating I gave was a 2-star, which gave me an average star rating of 3.65 stars, which is not as high as I would like it to be, but it's not too bad. As always, I did film a November mid-month wrap-up, which covers the books that I read from the 1st through the 15th, which was 11 books, so I will be talking about the other 11 books that I read in the second half of November in this video. So let's jump straight in and talk about the books. The first book I want to talk about is Apollyon by Jennifer L Armentrout. This is the 4th book in the Covenant series. This one was okay. It did get a bit slower and a bit more boring, I thought. It just wasn't as fun and fast-paced to me as the previous books in the series. I did still enjoy it, but I only gave this one 3 stars. The next book I read was Naomi Grimm by Tiffany Nicole Smith. This is a book that I was approved for on NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley and the publishers for approving me to read this one. This book has a really interesting premise. It follows a teenage girl who is in fact a Grim Reaper. She comes from a alternate world that runs like kind of like an alternate dimension that runs parallel to our dimension in which Grim Reapers live, and she travels into our dimension to collect souls and lives and things when it is someone's time to die. She collects those lives and takes it back to her world, and they use the lives there well, to keep themselves alive. The more lives they collect, the more years like they get on their life, and they use it to kind of power their cities and things like that. There is a class system kind of in the world as well, which like comes into play. The book had, as I said, a very interesting premise, but to me there was too much crammed into one book. This was actually the longest book I read this month. It was like 472 pages, I think I said, and it just felt like there was too much like crammed into it. As I said, it was too much. The book felt very all over the place, like emotionally. I just didn't, it was very all over the place. I also didn't, there were some parts of the story that they just didn't make sense to me. It was enjoyable. Like I said, I liked the premise and the world and things like that. It was very interesting, but it was just, I had a lot of problems with it as well. In the end, I gave this 2.75 stars. Next, I completed Lock and Key Volume 5 by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. This was my favorite volume of the Lock and Key graphic novel so far. I absolutely adored all the backstory that we were getting in this volume. I cannot wait to see how the series ends. As I said, this was my favorite so far. I gave this 4.5 stars. Next, I completed Narrows by Michael Connelly. This is the 10th book in the Harry Bosch series. I enjoyed this one. I really do like Harry Bosch as a character. I just really enjoy reading about him and his escapades. There are a few things at the end of this one that I didn't know how to feel about, but I did enjoy it. I gave this one 3.5 stars. The next book I completed was Sentinel by Jennifer L Armentrout. This was the 5th book in the Covenant series. This one left me with very mixed feelings. I really liked parts of it. I really disliked other parts of it. And my overall feeling coming out of it was just, I was confused. I didn't know how to feel about it. So in the end, I gave this 3 stars. Next, I finally read Burn by Paula Weston. This is the 4th and final book in the Refame series by Paula Weston. I adore this series. This book was so, so good. We start to get a lot of the backstory kind of in this final book, which I absolutely adored. I also really, really loved that everyone in this kind of issues and stuff that they were having were quite talked out, which I really loved, because you don't see that a lot in like YA type stories, that, you know, characters like bury things and don't talk about their problems, and then it causes more drama down the line, and sometimes it's used as like a means to drive plot. That wasn't done in this. People talked about their issues. I did have a minor problem with kind of one of the revelations behind why the main character had done something, but at the same time, I think it was kind of true to her character. I also did have one minor problem with something, like some of the way things finished, but I really, really loved this story overall. I absolutely adore this series. I highly, highly recommend it. I enjoyed this book immensely. I gave it 5 stars, and as I said, I think everyone should read this series because I totally loved it. Next, I read St. Elmo's Fire by Emily Rodda. This is the 22nd book in the Teen Power Inc. / Raven Hills Mystery series. I really, really enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the mystery aspect of this one a lot. In the end, I gave this one 4 stars. Next, on audio, I picked up All the Summer Girls by Meg Donahue. This was just a random book that I picked up that I'd never heard of before, but it looked interesting. This follows 3 main characters who are all in their late 20s. They were best friends as children, but they've kind of drifted apart. At the start of the story, you have a single mother. One of them is not a single mother. She is a stay-at-home mother who is struggling with the fact that her husband has revealed to her recently that he has been unfaithful. You have the other one who has recently just been dumped by her fiance on the day that she found out that she was pregnant with her fiance's baby. And the third, who is kind of the wild child of the group and is just kind of wandering aimlessly, has been fired from like 12 jobs in 7 years. I think they say something like that, and is also like trying to write a novel. And in the story, they all kind of come together for the summer at the like place where they used to go for summers when they were younger. And there's also an aspect to the story that one of the characters had a twin brother who died when they were younger, and there's kind of a aspect surrounding his death that they all have things that they feel guilty about surrounding his death, so there's kind of dealing with that too. Sorry, that was a really long-winded synopsis. But anyway, this, I didn't know how to feel about it. It's one of those stories that has a lot of kind of description and characters reflecting on things, but not a lot of action. I really liked the setting and the atmosphere, but it feels like one of those stories where, like, the type of story that it is, it feels like one of those stories where at the end you should have everything tied up in a neat little bow, and I didn't even really get that. I kind of enjoyed it, but I didn't at the same time. In the end, I gave this one 2.5 stars. Next, I read Death Note Black Edition Volume 4 by Tsugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata. This one I enjoyed, but it feels like the series started to go a bit off course for me here. It was definitely my least favorite of the manga series so far. In the end, I gave this one 3.5 stars. Next, I read Deviation by Heather Hildenbrand. This is the 2nd book in the Clone Chronicles, which is, I believe, a trilogy. I enjoyed this one. We started to get more answers. I enjoyed the romance still, but it did kind of have a lot more kind of contrived romantic situations in it. It was basically your typical 2nd book. A lot of build-up and a crazy ending. I did enjoy it. I gave it 3.5 stars. And the final book that I completed in the month of November is Death Note Black Edition Volume 5. I enjoyed this one a little more than I enjoyed Volume 4, and it definitely has me intrigued to see how the series is going to finish up overall. I'm really excited to get to that final manga volume. In the end, I gave this 3.75 stars. So those are all of the books that I managed to read in the month of November. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, and if you have any thoughts or any books that you read in the month of November that you really enjoyed. My favorite books that I read in November were definitely the second, third, and fourth books in the Refame series. I just was really loving that series. But yeah, I'd love to chat with you guys in the comments down below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. But that's all I've got for this video today. Bye guys!